why don't we run a clip of him? I think it's with Vashi Kapelis of CTV, that horrible media company that just axed 1,300 people.
They're the good guys, if you take your advice from the Ottawa Carleton District School Board. CTV, they're the good guys. Sheila, you're a demon. Get out of here.
Yeah. So let's see what Mr. O'Toole had to say as part of his parting shots. What a disgrace. Roll it.
You know, the Conservatives won the popular vote in the last two elections. It just wasn't efficient enough. And Mr. Trudeau, some of the polarization is actually focusing and over-delivering your small cohort. So he's now won 2 minority governments with a smaller popular vote, and in some elections being virtually shut out in certain provinces of the country. So I think had the pandemic not been a part of the discussion, I had a lot of fiscal conservatives that wanted to see the Conservatives with a smart plan on the environment. A lot of business leaders, for example, or small business owners that wanted to make sure they lowered emissions for their kids, but were worried about our competitiveness, worried about trade relations, thought Mr. Trudeau's ethics were questionable. So there's a bunch of voters that want to see the Conservatives address all issues. I think Pierre will do that. You know, the Conservatives won the popular vote.
Well, Sheila, I'll hold my fire until you speak. But once again, the Conservatives won the popular vote the last 2 elections, which is true. Too bad we don't have a system that works that way. It's all about winning the riding rich provinces, especially Quebec and Ontario. But nevertheless, what is your analysis on what he just said?
It's like watching Encino Man, but for politics. Like, I'm like, did you just get unfrozen after the last 2 years? Did you miss everything that transpired, including how you lost and then were thrown out by the party, but for not being conservative enough? Like, his solution to offering voters a real alternative to the Liberals is to what? Be more like the Liberals? Is that what he's getting at here?
Yep.
That's not quite how it works. He already tried this, by the way, and lost. He was the guy who said, actually, you know what? After I signed that no carbon tax pledge, I'm actually going to bring in a carbon tax, but we're going to call it something different. It was like some sort of like carbon exchange scheme thing that he wanted people to do. Like you had a carbon budget. Sounds a lot WEF-y, doesn't it? But that's his solution to getting voters to switch to the Conservative Party, is to offer them no reason to switch to the Conservative Party. If you're just going to get liberal policies from a guy in a blue tie, why would you move away from the guy in the red tie, Aaron? That's why he lost. That's why he didn't inspire new voters in the GTA. And that's why the party got rid of him. The party got rid of him because they felt he wasn't conservative enough. And the convoy broke him. The convoy exposed him.
Yep.
And he hasn't figured anything out about the successful Conservatives of the last 2 years. Danielle Smith just won in Alberta. How? By being more conservative than Jason Kenney. She decided, I'm going to move further in the direction of civil liberties, further in the direction of small taxes, which is what conservative voters want. They actually want you to be conservative. Scott Moe, likewise, doing the same thing in Saskatchewan. I toot Alberta's horn all the time, but on a lot of these issues, Scott Moe is beating us to the punch. He's just doing it a little bit less flamboyantly than us Albertans do. But smaller government, lower taxes, strong on civil liberties. He's trying to tell us that there's a whole swath of conservative voters out there who actually want the carbon tax. What planet is he from? Who are these people? I've never met them in my entire life.
Well, Sheila, I recall the 2021 election vividly. We were all covering that election, of course.
Yeah.
And what I'll never forget is in the first week, Aaron O'Toole had an incredibly good week, and Justin Trudeau had a horrible week. And all the columnists, including the likes of Warren Kinsella, never judge a campaign by the first week, which is true, actually. And then Blackface had another terrible second week, and Aaron O'Toole looked like an ambassador. He looked prime ministerial. He was saying and doing all the right things. And then slowly the screw began to turn. And I know what happened, Sheila, behind closed doors. I know what the unspoken strategy is. Okay, we have our conservative base in the bag. Now let's reach out to the lefties. And they did. Suddenly, Erin O'Toole is open to carbon taxes. Suddenly, Erin O'Toole is open to a gun grab. And suddenly, what happened on election night is conservatives who were disgusted by being taken for granted yet again stayed home in droves, and blackface, who had a disastrous campaign, at least in the first half, came up with another minority government. And Sheila, I'll point to one riding. It's the one just south of me in Richmond Hill, and it's the riding of Richmond Hill. Majid Johari, he is someone who, unlike the vast majority of Persians who live in Richmond Hill, I think it's a significant minority, 14%, if I believe right, he actually supports the regime in Iran, even though the Iranians that are living in Richmond Hill do not. In 2019, this was the closest riding in all of Canada, a photo finish. In fact, the Conservative candidate, Kostas Minagakis, went to bed thinking he had won, and then, oh yeah, we counted the mail-in ballots overnight around 4 a.m., Kostas, and it looks like Majid, with about 200 votes, squeaked past you. Well, I can tell you, so a 200 vote spread in 2019, the closest riding in all of Canada. 2021, I believe Johari won by almost 5,000. Was that 5,000 new votes coming to support this creep, this cretin that supports the Iranian regime? No, it was conservatives in Richmond Hill staying home, saying, you know what, Erin O'Toole, the hell with you. Carbon taxes, gun grabbing, bye-bye. How else can you explain that vote swinging the way it did, Sheila?
Well, and look, he lost seats in what is known within conservative circles as Fortress Alberta. He lost seats in Fortress Alberta.
Yes.
That is a disaster, an absolute disaster. And again, like I say, it's like he's Encino Man, but for politics. He just woke up, shook the icicles off, and he's like, I'm going to tell this conservative movement that is rebuilding itself after I did something terrible to it, what it needs to do. I'd rather listen to somebody successful. Why don't we talk to Scott Moe? Why don't we talk to Danielle Smith about how they are managing to keep their provinces conservative? You know what? He should be the conservative movement should be talking to Danielle Smith, because Danielle has something quite interesting that the conservative movement needs advice from her about.
Oh,
she
Sheila
is repairing an Erin O'Toole style disaster in Alberta, and she's fixing it. So maybe they could stand to learn something from her and not this guy.
I am dead certain in my heart of hearts, Erin O'Toole would look upon Danielle Smith as an extremist, as far right. Hey, folks, that was a clip from the Daily Roundup. That is our live stream show that airs from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday to Friday. I'm usually here for 4 of the shows. Our Alberta team takes over on Fridays. And you know what? You can interact with the hosts. If you give us a small financial donation, we'll read your comment during the live stream. So please go to revelnews.com/livestream and tune in Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern.